side. To discuss this now a little bit further, I'm joined by political analyst Caleb Maupin. Caleb, thanks very much for being with us here on RT International. So how would you evaluate Francois Hollande's proposal to close the Turkish-Syrian border, and how effective might that be?
Well, for the last 4 years, Syria has been trying to secure its borders. Both its Turkish border and its border with Jordan have been open, and weapons have been flowing across those borders. Training camps for the anti-government fighters exist on the Turkish soil and in Jordanian soil, and they're then crossing the border, going into Syria, kidnapping people, murdering people, taking people for ransom. I mean, just committing horrendous crimes. And every day that those borders remain open, ISIL gets stronger. Let's be clear about that. So my hope is that this is the French government waking up to the fact that ISIL is dangerous, and that every day those borders remain open, ISIL is getting stronger. That's the reality. Western leaders have really got to decide. Do they want safety and the defeat of terrorism, or do they want to continue their neoliberal crusade to topple the Syrian government? Which is more important, overthrowing the Syrian government or safety and an end to terrorism? That's the decision that they have to make, because the neoliberal crusade to destroy the Syrian Arab Republic is making ISIL stronger. ISIL originated as part of the Western-backed insurgents fighting the Syrian government, and every day that that campaign continues, every day that weapons continue to flow into Syria, ISIL gets stronger. What's more important, safety or overthrowing the Syrian government? I would think that the safety of the people in the Western countries from ISIL terrorism would get priority.
Now, Caleb, we've already heard Russia speak in support of this measure. We've also seen cooperation between France and Russia in terms of working together in the air campaign against ISIL. Do we think, I mean, is it likely that we're going to see a new coalition, maybe Russia and France working together to defeat ISIL?
I absolutely hope so. Nothing was more disappointing than when Ashton Carter, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, said that he thought that Russia and China were more dangerous to the people of the United States than ISIS. I mean, this is just insanity. I mean, we've seen what ISIS is about, and the reality is what ISIS did in Paris, they have been doing in Syria for the last 4 years. They have been killing people, slaughtering people, going into churches and beheading people, shooting people while they're praying in mosques, just committing horrific atrocities, and the world has kind of sat by and let them do it. The West has been giving them weapons and funding them and training them in the hopes that they'll overthrow the Syrian government. But now they have attacked Paris, and now Western societies are starting to see what these terrorists are all about. They're seeing what has been unleashed against the Syrian Arab Republic for the last 4 years. The defeat of terrorism is in the interest of everyone. People in the United States, people in France, people in Russia, we all have an interest in the defeat of ISIL. However, at this point, Western leaders seem to be targeting not targeting ISIL, they're rather targeting the Syrian Arab Republic, and that is an extremely mistaken policy. Right now, Syria's borders are so insecure that John McCain actually crossed into Syria, met with the insurgents several years ago without a visa. He just walked across the border. This is a U.S. senator. That's how insecure the borders are. We're always hearing rhetoric from U.S. leaders. People like Donald Trump are talking about build a wall between Mexico to keep workers who want to come here and come to the United States and work and send some money back home out. But yet every day terrorists are crossing the Syrian border, going into Syria, killing people, slaughtering people, trying to overthrow the government, and the United States has worked to facilite that.
Well, Caleb,
this is sheer hypocrisy.
Well, one of the things we're hearing a lot of this rhetoric now. There's a lot of like Turkey's support for the jihadists. There's a lot of talk about that coming out now. Why is it being discussed at this point in time when it was largely unnoticed until this particular moment?
For the last 4 years, Western media has been calling the terrorists who are trying to overthrow the Syrian government, it's been calling them freedom fighters and revolutionaries and reformers and moderates. It's been using all kinds of euphemisms. But anyone who's been paying attention and watching something other than Western media should be aware of the fact that these are not freedom fighters. These are Takfiri extremists. Their intention has been to slaughter religious minorities in Syria, topple the secular Syrian government, and set up something much like what ISIL is, if not ISIL itself. Alongside ISIL, you have the al-Nusra Front, which was previously known as al-Qaeda in Syria. These anti-government forces in Syria are vicious murderers. They are killing people and slaughtering people, and the West has been supporting them because they want to overthrow the Syrian government. That is insanity.
All right. Political analyst Caleb Maupin, thank you very much for your thoughts on the subject. Certainly going to be interesting to watch this whole thing play out.